Have you ever had one of those days where someone's words or actions seem to ruin everything? Maybe it's a rude comment from a stranger, a thoughtless remark from a friend, or even just an unexpected inconvenience that throws off your whole day. You know, the kind of thing that gets under your skin and stays with you, making everything feel off balance? You probably think, why did they have to say that? Why do people act this way? It's frustrating, isn't it? And we've all been there. I get it. It feels like something so small can suddenly have this huge impact on your mood. But here's the thing. What if I told you that no one, absolutely no one, has the power to control your emotions unless you let them? Think about it for a moment. We often think that other people are the ones who control how we feel. We believe that what they say or do somehow has the ability to mess with our emotions. But that's a trap. The truth is, you're the one in control. You get to decide how you react, how you respond. Imagine this. You're walking through your day, calm and collected, even when things go wrong. You face challenges, annoyances, frustrations, whatever life throws at you, and you remain unshaken, completely calm. Wouldn't that be incredible? Wouldn't it be amazing to go through your day with a sense of peace so strong that nothing, absolutely nothing, could rattle you? Now, I'm not saying this is some kind of magic trick. It's not about ignoring your feelings or pretending like you don't care. It's not about acting like you've got everything figured out and your life is perfect. No, that's not what this is. What we're talking about here is emotional mastery. It's about building mental strength to handle life's challenges with grace and clarity. And that's exactly what Stoicism, the ancient philosophy we're going to dive into today, helps us do. You see, Stoicism isn't some dry old set of rules to follow. It's about living life in a way that doesn't let external circumstances dictate how we feel. And today, I'm going to share with you 10 powerful Stoic secrets that can help you stop reacting impulsively, let go of anger, and take back control of your emotions. These aren't just tips you can read in a book and forget about. These are real, actionable strategies that will change the way you experience the world around you. And here's the best part. By the end of this episode, you won't just understand Stoicism, you'll know how to live it. I'm talking about knowing exactly what to do when someone criticizes you, when someone's rude, when things don't go your way. Imagine feeling completely unbothered by things that used to upset you. Imagine walking through your day with this unshakable calm, no matter what anyone says or does. That's the power of Stoicism. But before we dive in, let's make one thing clear. This isn't about pretending your feelings don't exist. This isn't about being cold or emotionless. It's about recognizing that your emotions don't have to control you. They can be there, but they don't have to dictate your actions or your mood. And once you start practicing these Stoic principles, you'll find that you can face life's ups and downs with much more strength and peace. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about responding to life with clarity and calm. So, if you're ready to unlock the secret to living a life where no one else controls your mood, where you can stay calm and unbothered no matter what, then stick with me. In the next few minutes, we're going to dive into the first powerful lesson, how to understand that your reactions are your choice. And trust me, once you realize that, everything changes. Your peace is in your hands. And once you know that, no one can take it from you. Let's get started. I want you to imagine something for a second. Picture this. You're walking through a peaceful day, maybe sipping on your coffee, just taking in the calm of the morning. Life is good, right? You're feeling pretty content. And then, boom, someone says something rude or inconsiderate, or maybe someone cuts you off in traffic, or you spill your coffee all over your shirt. That calm you had a second ago, gone. Just like that. And suddenly your mind races. You think, why did they have to do that? Why do people have to be so thoughtless? You might even find yourself stewing on it for hours, or worse, letting it completely ruin your day. I get it. We've all been there. But here's the hard truth. They didn't ruin your day. You did. Let me say that again. You ruined your day. Now, I don't mean that to sound harsh. I'm saying that your reaction to their actions is what determines how you feel. And once you realize that, it's like unlocking a superpower. The truth is, no one, no person, no situation, no event has the power to control your emotions unless you give it to them. Think about that for a moment. It's a game changer. When you recognize that your emotions are your responsibility, you're no longer at the mercy of other people's behavior. It's easy to blame others when we feel upset, especially when it's something that seems unfair or inconsiderate. But here's the thing. When you blame others for your emotional state, you give them control over you. You're handing over the keys to your peace, and they don't deserve that power. You have control. You get to decide how to respond. Now, I know that sounds simple, but it's not always easy. It takes practice. But the more you practice this, the easier it becomes to choose calm over chaos, peace over frustration. Let me give you an example that might hit close to home. Imagine you're in a meeting at work, and your coworker dismisses your idea right off the bat. Maybe they even interrupt you in front of the entire room. It stings, right? In that moment, your instinct might be to snap back at them, to defend your idea or your worth. And honestly, that's what most of us would do. We'd feel that rush of anger or frustration, and we'd want to react. But here's where the Stoic mindset comes in. Instead of reacting immediately, take a moment, breathe, reflect. Is it about you or is it about them? Are they just stressed out or dealing with something that has nothing to do with you? By taking that moment to pause, you shift the power back to you. Instead of letting their words control your emotions, you regain control over your own reaction. And that, my friend, is where the freedom lies. You see, the Stoics taught us that there's a space between what happens to us and how we respond. Between the stimulus, the thing that triggers us, and the response, the way we react, there's a gap. In that gap, we have a choice. And in that choice lies our growth, our freedom, our peace. We can choose to react with anger, frustration, or we can choose to respond with calm, with understanding, and with clarity. The key is to recognize that pause. The more you practice noticing that moment of choice, the more you'll realize that your peace isn't dependent on what others do. It's up to you to protect it. So how do we practice this? Well, it starts by noticing when you're triggered, when your emotions start to rise. Maybe you're getting upset, or maybe you feel that familiar rush of irritation. Instead of reacting automatically, stop. Just pause. In that moment, identify what you're feeling. Are you angry, hurt, frustrated? Once you name the emotion, you start to separate yourself from it. It's no longer just you feeling that emotion, it's you noticing it. And once you notice it, you can begin to take control. The next step is to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is it because of what happened? Or is it because of the way you're interpreting the situation? Most of the time, our reactions aren't about the thing that happened. They're about the meaning we've attached to it. Maybe your coworker didn't dismiss you on purpose. Maybe they were distracted or dealing with their own stress. When you reframe the situation, you neutralize its emotional impact. It's no longer a personal attack on you. It's just a moment in time that you can choose to let go of. And the final step is to choose how you want to respond. This is where your power really lies. You don't have to react in the heat of the moment. Instead, decide how you want to act based on your long-term peace, not your immediate emotional reaction. Do you want to defend yourself in that moment? Or do you want to preserve your calm? Do you want to engage in an argument? Or would it be better to stay composed and walk away? The beauty of this approach is that it's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about recognizing that you can feel them without being controlled by them. You get to choose your response. The second Stoic secret I want to dive into is one that's particularly tough for a lot of people. Stop expecting others to behave like you. We all have this tendency to assume that other people will think the way we do, act the way we would act, and make decisions that align with our values. And when they don't, it's frustrating. It's easy to feel disappointed, hurt, or even angry. But the reality is, other people aren't going to act the way you do. They're not going to think like you or react the way you would. And that's okay. It's their right to behave in a way that makes sense to them, just as it's your right to behave the way you do. But here's where the problem lies. When we expect others to behave a certain way, we set ourselves up for disappointment. We create an emotional attachment to an outcome that we can't control. You can't control other people's actions, no matter how much you try to make them see things your way. You might have a friend who's always late, or a coworker who's constantly interrupting you during meetings. You might think, why can't they just be more considerate? Why can't they see things from my perspective? But the truth is, they don't have to. Their behavior is shaped by their experiences, their values, and their way of thinking. It's not about you. When you let go of the expectation that others will behave as you do, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional weight. I know, it's easier said than done. But when you stop focusing on how others should act, you can focus on how you want to respond to them. If your coworker interrupts you during a meeting, instead of seething with frustration, take a moment to recognize that their behavior has nothing to do with you. Maybe they're anxious. Maybe they have a habit of speaking over others. Or maybe they just don't realize the impact of their actions. When you let go of the expectation that they'll change for you, you release yourself from the frustration that comes with trying to control their behavior. It's freeing. The Stoics would say that expectations are the root of all suffering. When you expect things from others that they can't or won't give you, you set yourself up for disappointment. But when you release those expectations, you protect your peace. It's not about tolerating bad behavior or abandoning your values. It's about recognizing that your peace is too valuable to sacrifice for something you can't control. The next time you feel frustrated with someone's actions, pause and remind yourself, they are who they are, and that's okay. I choose my response. And this leads me to the third lesson. Let go of the need to always be right. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten into arguments over something trivial, something small, just because I felt the need to be right. It could be something as simple as arguing over which route to take on a drive, or something more significant, like a disagreement with a close friend or family member. But here's the thing. The need to always be right is exhausting. It's unnecessary. It's draining. At its core, the need to be right stems from insecurity. We fear that being wrong somehow diminishes our worth. But what if, instead of clinging to the need to prove ourselves, we just let it go? What if we could approach disagreements with curiosity instead of defensiveness? What if we could say, I see where you're coming from. I may not agree, but I respect your perspective. Doesn't that sound a lot more peaceful than getting into a heated argument to prove who's right? Letting go of the need to always be right doesn't mean abandoning your principles. It doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. What it means is recognizing that not every disagreement needs to be won. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back, listen, and acknowledge that being right isn't as important as maintaining your peace. Would you rather win the argument, or would you rather have peace? If you can get to the point where you choose peace over pride, you'll find that life becomes a lot lighter. So the next time you feel the urge to prove your point, pause and ask yourself, will this argument bring me peace, or will it just drain me? Now, let's dive into something that trips up a lot of people, and I get it. It's one of the most common ways we give away our power without even realizing it. It's this idea of letting other people's words define your worth. We've all been there, right? You're excited about something, you're proud of an idea, or you've put in the work, and then someone comes along with a dismissive comment or a harsh critique, and just like that, everything you were feeling, your confidence, your sense of value, seems to slip away. It stings. You start to question yourself. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good enough. But here's the thing. Those words don't define you. They don't get to decide your worth unless you allow them to. Let me give you an example. Let's say you've been working on something for weeks, maybe even months. Maybe it's a project, an idea, or even a personal goal. You're feeling proud of what you've accomplished. You share it with someone, expecting a little support. Maybe just a simple, hey, that's cool. But instead they brush it off with some sarcastic comment or a critical remark. The sting of that can be intense. You might find yourself thinking, why do they have to be so dismissive? Why don't they see how hard I've worked? And here's the kicker. You're starting to let their words impact how you feel about yourself. But the reality is, their opinion is just that, their opinion. It's not an objective truth about who you are or what you've accomplished. You know, Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Think about that for a second. We all have this tendency to care so much about what others think. But the truth is, no one knows you better than you know yourself. So why should their words have the power to shake your self-worth? It's like handing over control of your life to someone else and letting them dictate how you feel. But that's a choice too. You get to choose how much weight you give to someone else's opinion. I'm not saying that you should ignore constructive feedback. If someone's offering genuine criticism that can help you grow, take it. But when someone's just being harsh or dismissive for no good reason, let it go. Recognize that it's not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of them, of where they're coming from, their own biases, their own issues. Their negativity doesn't belong to you. You can choose to let it roll off your back, just like water off a duck's back. The more you practice this, the more you realize that your worth is intrinsic. It's not tied to someone's opinion, whether it's positive or negative. Here's a simple strategy to start putting this into practice. The next time someone criticizes you or says something dismissive, take a moment to pause. Before you react, ask yourself, is this really about me? Or is this more about their perspective, their biases, or even their own insecurities? You'll start to see that most of the time, it's not about you at all. It's about them. And then, once you've recognized that, it becomes easier to detach from their words. You can reaffirm your worth, and you can choose to protect your peace. Now, let's talk about something that's really important: protecting your energy. I think this one is so often overlooked. We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with demands from other people. Someone asks for your time, your attention, your help, and because we don't want to disappoint anyone, we say yes. Here's the truth: saying yes to everyone else often means saying no to ourselves. And that is a sure way to burn out. It's a recipe for resentment. It's a path to emotional depletion. We end up giving so much of ourselves to others that we don't have anything left for ourselves. And when we're running on empty, that's when our emotional boundaries get crossed, and that's when we start to feel overwhelmed, unappreciated, and drained. I'm sure you've had a situation like this. A friend calls you last minute, asking for help with something that they could easily handle themselves. Or maybe your boss dumps a task on you at the end of the day, knowing that you've already got a full plate. And because you don't want to disappoint them, you say yes. You agree to help even though you're already stretched too thin. And in doing so, you're sacrificing your own well-being for someone else's needs. But here's the thing: protecting your peace requires setting boundaries. And boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary. Without them, you're letting everyone else dictate your time, your energy, and your emotional state. I know setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to being the one who says yes all the time. But think about this: you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly giving to others without taking care of yourself, eventually you'll burn out. But when you set boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself, you're also teaching others to respect your needs. When you take care of yourself, you're in a better position to help others. And here's the best part: when you set boundaries, you're not saying no to the people you care about. You're saying yes to yourself. You're saying, I need this time, this space, this energy so I can be the best version of myself for you and for me. For example, imagine you're always the person who gets called for advice, even at inconvenient times. A friend calls you late at night, asking for your opinion on something, and you're already exhausted from a long day. Instead of just saying yes out of obligation, try this: I care about you, but I need to keep my evenings to recharge. Let's talk tomorrow when I'm fresh. It's a simple way to protect your time and energy without damaging the relationship. You're still being kind, but you're also setting a boundary that prioritizes your well-being. I know this isn't easy at first, but once you get into the habit of setting clear and respectful boundaries, you'll notice how much lighter you feel. You'll start to reclaim your time and your energy, and you'll stop feeling like you're constantly being pulled in every direction. And when you protect your energy, you protect your peace. And that brings us to the next lesson: detaching from the opinions of others. This is another big one. Think about how often we let other people's opinions affect our decisions. How many times have you held back from doing something you wanted to do just because you were worried about what someone else would think? We all want approval and we want to be liked, but the reality is, seeking validation from others can be a trap. It's like chasing a shadow. It's always just out of reach, and it never really fills you up. This is something I've learned the hard way. When you constantly seek approval, you give away your power. You let someone else's opinion decide how you feel about yourself. But the truth is, No one has the right to control your narrative except you. So why let someone else's judgment dictate your life? Think about a time when you did something for yourself, something you were really excited about, but someone made a comment that made you second-guess yourself. Maybe they didn't get it, or maybe they didn't understand your motivation, and for a moment, their words made you feel small. But that's where you can step in. You get to decide how much weight you give to their opinion. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it this way: if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. It sounds harsh, but what he's really saying is that growth often requires going against the grain, stepping outside of what others think is normal. When you stop seeking approval, you free yourself from the emotional weight of judgment. You allow yourself to live authentically without worrying about whether everyone else gets it. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop seeking validation, you start to attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, not for who they think you should be. To practice this, start by questioning why you care so much about someone else's opinion. Is it really about them, or is it about your own need for external validation? Remind yourself that your worth isn't determined by what others think of you. And the next time you catch yourself seeking approval, pause. Ask yourself, am I living for them, or am I living for me? As you continue to practice these Stoic lessons, letting go of other people's words, setting boundaries, and detaching from the need for validation, you'll start to feel lighter. You'll start to feel more grounded in who you are and less dependent on the opinions and behaviors of others. And that's the kind of emotional freedom that Stoicism is all about. It's not about being perfect or having it all figured out. It's about taking back control of your peace and your power. I want to talk about something that I think is really important when it comes to protecting your peace: responding with silence, not anger. Now, I know this might sound a little counterintuitive at first. When someone says something hurtful or provocatively pushes your buttons, your instinct might be to lash out, to fire back with something sharp. Maybe it's a cutting remark, maybe it's a heated argument. But here's the thing: silence can be one of the most powerful responses you can have. It's not about conceding defeat or avoiding confrontation. It's not about being weak or passive. Silence, when used correctly, is strength. It's you deciding not to engage in the negativity that's being thrown your way. Think about a time when you've been in a heated argument. Someone says something that makes your blood boil, and immediately, your heart starts racing. Your face heats up, you feel the urge to snap back. You feel like you have to respond, to defend yourself, to make sure that they know they're wrong. But what if, instead of reacting in that moment, you just stayed silent? I mean, really silent. Not the kind of silence where you're seething with rage on the inside, just waiting for the right moment to attack back, but real, calm, measured silence. It's like you're taking a step back, saying, "This moment does not need me to get involved." I'll tell you, I've had moments where silence in the face of provocation has been one of the most powerful moves I've ever made. Let's say you're in a meeting, and someone tries to undermine you. They make a sarcastic comment, or maybe they're dismissing your idea in front of everyone. It's easy to feel the heat rise in your chest, and you just want to go at them, defend yourself, and prove them wrong. But think about it for a second. What's the point of engaging in that back and forth? Does it really matter if you get the last word? Most of the time, all it does is escalate things and make the situation more heated than it needs to be. So, what if you just stayed quiet? Let them speak, let them vent, but you don't engage. You keep your composure. That silence says a lot more than any argument could. When you don't respond to negativity, you stop feeding it. You cut off the fuel that would have kept it burning. Instead of getting dragged into a cycle of conflict and frustration, you stay above it. It's like you're holding your ground without even saying a word. You show emotional strength by not reacting, by choosing peace over pride. And here's something really cool about silence. It can actually make other people uncomfortable. They might be expecting you to snap, to engage with their negativity. But when you don't, it throws them off. It forces them to rethink their behavior. It's not about being passive, it's about choosing your battles. It's about using your energy wisely and not wasting it on things that don't serve you. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said something that really stuck with me. The best answer to anger is silence. And it's true. When someone tries to provoke you, silence starves that anger. It keeps you from getting caught up in their emotional turmoil, and instead, it gives you the space to think, to breathe, to decide whether this moment even deserves your attention. So the next time you're faced with provocation, remember this: silence isn't weakness. It's the presence of wisdom. It's the ability to rise above the noise and not let someone else's words dictate your peace. Now let's talk about gratitude. You might be thinking, what does gratitude have to do with staying calm and unbothered? Well, more than you might think. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools in shifting your emotional state. We all have those days, right? You know the kind, the days where everything seems to go wrong. You wake up late, you spill your coffee, you miss the bus, and it feels like the universe is conspiring against you. And before you know it, you're stuck in this negative spiral, feeling frustrated, angry, maybe even a little hopeless. But here's where gratitude comes in. Gratitude has this incredible ability to pull you out of that negative spiral and redirect your focus to something positive. Think about it. You can't feel angry and grateful at the same time. It's impossible. When you start to focus on what you're thankful for, no matter how small it is, you start to shift your perspective. It's like flipping a switch. You're no longer focused on what's going wrong, but on what's going right. So imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, running late to an important meeting. You're stressed, frustrated, maybe even fuming. But instead of letting that anger take over, you pause for a second and think, okay, what am I thankful for right now? Maybe you're grateful that you have a car, that you're on your way to a job or opportunity, or maybe you're grateful for the music playing on the radio. It might sound small, but that simple shift in focus can completely change your emotional state. You go from feeling angry and helpless to feeling grounded, calm, and even a little bit at peace. Cicero, the Roman philosopher, said, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others." Gratitude has this ripple effect. When you practice it, it doesn't just dissolve anger. It builds resilience, patience, and mental clarity. It helps you focus on what truly matters, and it puts things into perspective. When you start practicing gratitude, you start to see that even in the toughest situations, there's something to be thankful for. And when you focus on those things, it's easier to let go of the frustration and anger that might have otherwise taken over. Let me tell you a little trick that works wonders for me. Keep a gratitude journal. At the end of every day, write down 3 things you're thankful for. It doesn't matter how big or small they are. Maybe it's the fact that you had a good conversation with a friend. Maybe it's that you had a peaceful moment to yourself. Or maybe it's that you got through the day without major stress. Just 3 things, no matter how simple. The more you make gratitude a daily habit, the more you'll find yourself shifting out of negative emotional states and into a more balanced, positive mindset. And when you do this regularly, it becomes second nature. It's like you're training your mind to always look for the good, even when things aren't perfect. I promise you, gratitude doesn't just dissolve anger. It replaces it with calm, clarity, and a sense of control. It's not about denying frustration or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's about choosing to focus on what uplifts you, what helps you grow, and what's still going well, even when things feel difficult. So the next time you're frustrated, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what can I be thankful for right now? That small shift can completely change your emotional state, and once you start practicing it, it will become a powerful tool for staying calm, grounded, and unbothered. Now let's talk about criticism. It's something that we all face from time to time. And let's be honest, it's not always easy to deal with. When someone criticizes you, especially if it feels personal or unfair, it can sting. It can trigger all sorts of emotions: hurt, frustration, maybe even anger. But here's a powerful Stoic reframe. What if you could see criticism not as an attack, but as a tool for growth? That's right. What if you could use criticism as an opportunity to improve, to challenge yourself, to see where you might be able to do better? It's all about perspective. I've learned that when I get criticized, my first instinct is usually to get defensive. But when I take a step back, I realize that most of the time, criticism has some value. Even if it's harshly delivered or poorly timed, there's often something I can learn from it. It might be uncomfortable at first, but if you can detach from the emotion of it, you'll start to see it as a valuable source of feedback. Sometimes criticism is just someone else's opinion, and it doesn't really mean anything about you. But if it's constructive, if it's something that can help you grow, then you've got a golden opportunity to improve. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Criticism, like rain, should be gentle enough to nourish growth without destroying roots." It's a beautiful way to think about it. Criticism doesn't have to destroy you. It doesn't have to make you feel small. If you approach it with the right mindset, it can help you grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. So the next time you get criticized, instead of letting it knock you down, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this feedback to get better? You'll be amazed at how much easier it is to handle criticism when you see it as a stepping stone, not a roadblock. And that brings us to the final lesson, letting go. This one is huge. Holding on to anger, grudges, resentment. It's like carrying around a heavy weight that slows you down and drains your energy. Imagine holding on to a hot coal, thinking you're going to throw it at someone who hurt you. But while you're waiting for the perfect moment to strike, the coal keeps burning your hand. That's what holding on to anger does. It harms you more than anyone else. The person who wronged you, they've probably already moved on. But you're stuck in the past, letting that anger eat away at your peace. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It means freeing yourself from the emotional weight that keeps you tied to the past. When you let go, you take back your energy, your peace, and your ability to focus on the present moment. And that's where your power lies. You don't have to let someone else's actions control you. You get to decide how much energy you give to the past. Marcus Aurelius again said, "Do not be disturbed by what is outside your power." And that's what letting go is all about. It's about recognizing that you can't control the past and you can't control what other people do. But you can control your response. You can let go of the anger, the resentment, the hurt, and free yourself to focus on what really matters. Your present, your future, and your peace. So the next time you find yourself holding onto a grudge or replaying an old argument in your head, pause and ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is holding on to this going to make my life better? Or am I just burning myself by holding on to it? When you let go, you release that weight and make room for something better, emotional freedom. And that's what Stoicism is all about. Taking back control of your emotional life and living it with strength, clarity, and peace. So let's pause and take a step back, because I want to wrap this all up by giving you a little bit of space to reflect on what we've covered. The Stoic secrets we've talked about, choosing how you respond, letting go of the need to always be right, setting boundaries, practicing gratitude, responding with silence instead of anger, and even reframing criticism as an opportunity for growth. They're not just abstract ideas. These are tools. They're practical, real-world strategies that you can start applying right now to change the way you move through life. And here's the thing, it's not about perfection. It's not about getting it right every single time, because we all slip up. We all react impulsively sometimes. We all get frustrated, and we all feel the sting of someone else's words. That's part of being human. But the more you practice these Stoic principles, the more you'll find that your ability to stay calm, centered, and unbothered becomes a natural part of who you are. Imagine for a moment a future where you're no longer constantly triggered by the little things. The rude comment in the store, the email that rubs you the wrong way, the slight criticism at work, none of it has the power to throw you off. Imagine walking through your day with this inner peace, this sense of emotional freedom, where your reactions don't control you, but instead flow from a place of clarity and strength. That's the power of Stoicism, and it's something you can start to experience little by little every single day. What I really want to leave you with today is that emotional freedom is possible. It's not some distant ideal or some far-off goal. It's something you can begin right now. Every time you pause and choose your response, every time you let go of the need to be right, every time you set a boundary or respond with silence instead of anger, you're taking back control of your emotions. You're strengthening your inner peace, and that peace is something no one else can take from you. But like any new skill, it takes time. It takes practice. It takes conscious effort. There are going to be moments when you forget to pause, Moments when someone's words will hit you harder than you'd like. And that's okay. The point isn't to be perfect. The point is to be aware, to get better each day, and to keep practicing the art of emotional mastery. That's what makes all the difference. So, here's what I want you to do now. I want you to think about just one situation in your life. Maybe it's something that happened recently, or something that's been on your mind, that's been hard for you to handle emotionally. Maybe it's a person who constantly pushes your buttons, or maybe it's a situation that always seems to trigger frustration or anger. Whatever it is, think about it now. And then, I want you to apply just one of the Stoic lessons we talked about today to that situation. It could be choosing your response instead of reacting immediately. It could be setting a boundary or practicing gratitude to shift your mindset. Whatever it is, take that lesson and put it into action the next time that situation comes up. Watch how things start to change. You have the power to take back your emotional life. You have the power to respond to life with calm, clarity, and strength. And when you start living from that place, you'll begin to see how much lighter you feel, how much freer you become, and how much more at peace you are with yourself and the world around you. I'd love to hear from you, though. What's the one Stoic principle that resonated with you the most today? Is there something in your life you've been struggling with that you're now going to tackle using one of these tools? Drop a comment below and let me know. Let's keep this conversation going. And if you found this video valuable, if you feel like someone else could use a little more peace in their life, share it with them. The more people who start to live with this emotional freedom, the better the world will be. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Pure Stoic Life for more insights on living a life of peace, wisdom, and resilience. I'll be sharing more tips and strategies to help you stay unbothered, no matter what life throws at you. But remember, emotional freedom isn't a destination. It's a practice. It's something you have to show up for every day. So keep practicing, keep showing up for yourself, and keep growing stronger every single day. Thank you for being here, for joining me on this journey. And remember, no matter what happens, stay unbothered. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.